Hello, everyone. Together with three entrepreneurs and one academic, we're going to talk about the social enterprise in Turkey. And I'm Berin Kuleli, Turkey Women Entrepreneur Association's vice chairwoman, and I'm a member of the executive board. When we say social entrepreneur, there is a commercial institution and an entrepreneur. And that entrepreneur is a bit different from the others because the enterprise is built on a social benefit and commercialized to that end. Social entrepreneurs do spend some of their profits for the social utility. The British Council has a research on social entrepreneurship, and there's a report out of that research which indicates that there's about 9,000 social entrepreneurs in Turkey. About 55% of them are women and 47% youth. Since 2015, the social enterprise has been increasing, especially in Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir. It is basically intensifying in these cities. We have three social entrepreneurs here. The social entrepreneurs with whom we're going to have this conversation now, establishing their enterprise, they're going to talk about what kind of social benefit they sought. And a step back, there is also the theoretical dimension of the issue. Gonca Ongan, our guest here, has been conducting academic studies on that. And I'd like to introduce her to you. She graduated from the Economics Department of Istanbul University and Marmara University's Institute of European Union. She has received her PhD. She focuses on sustainability, social enterprise, and social effect management. Private sector, public sector, and after the civil society experiences, she started working at Koç University. Social enterprise, social effect management, and project are her areas of interest. At the same time, she has a platform to bring together the donors and their rights. It's called Açık Açı, Dear Gonca, social enterprise, and as a social effect manager, social impact manager, can you inform us on that? What kind of enterprises are identified as social enterprises?
Thank you very much, Ms. Berin. In addition to serving as an academic, I have this practical side. So you can call me a practical academic because social entrepreneurship is not a desk actually assignment. You need to be in the field. I mean, entrepreneurship requires it in its essence. So I can say that starting with 1995, 97, we see many definitions. And when you look at its theory, I mean, and how people understand social entrepreneurship, you see a common point where the traditional profit maximization approach is put aside. Instead, you see social and environmental problems, and social entrepreneurs view them as opportunities. Indeed, they try to resolve these issues. They try to come up with solutions, and they try to maximize the impact rather than the profit. Everyone, I think, has a consensus on that. Social entrepreneurship has two main streams. One group says create social benefit regardless of which model you use, just actually create it. But a philanthropy might like benefit you millions of dollars, or the public authority may be financing you. They are not interested in the method. They just care about the creative solution. The other group says, yes, create benefits, but I'm also interested in the income side. So when you create your impact, also pay attention to income, which is as important as the former, they say. So British Council research was conducted by a big consortium, and we were also a part of it. And here our young colleagues also have great social initiatives. So they turn into a corporation, meaning that they have these better income and business model aspects, which become more and more important in Turkey and around the world. So when we conduct our research, we look at how much percentage of their income originate from their commercial activities. This is important for the sustainability of initiatives. And when you look at social entrepreneurship in Turkey, you see an acceleration in the last decade. I mean, the number, there was just a handful of social entrepreneurships in the before 5 years ago, but we see actually a proliferation. We see different numbers, we see different structures. Actually, we see plenty of hybrid model examples. Maybe there are such examples here too. So they become an incorporation and also an association as part of this hybrid model. The number of companies has been increasing, and also we see many cooperatives in cities other than Istanbul, Izmir, and Ankara. So we see actually a movement towards creating cooperatives, and there are quite impressive examples of these cooperatives. So I think social entrepreneurship is a very dynamic field. And in countries like Turkey, I mean, in the developing ones, you do not see precise definitions or structures, which makes it perilous. Why? Because you sort of limit it to a pattern. When we listen to our colleagues here, you will see that they work in different models, in different fields, and they are active in actually every area. They do not concentrate only one particular area. Of course, education is substantially important in Turkey, and they may have a higher percentage in educational activities, but still, the most fundamental criterion here is that social benefit ecosystem should grow in a healthy manner so that they can have a self-sustaining nature with bigger impacts. We want to see their proliferation, and that requires a data focused approach. That's why we are conducting these studies, and we created Turkey's Social Entrepreneurship Network as part of another project. We try to expand it. This is a network of ecosystems. We have people here who want to support social entrepreneurship, as well as institutions, universities, incubators, public, private sectors, and mediation institutions that foster social entrepreneurship. They get information there. There's this also social entrepreneurship network, sosyalgirişimcilik.org is our website. You can visit if you want to have further information. That will be all for now. Thank you very much for valuable insights. By the way, sosyalgirişimciler.org, let's not forget, is a website that actually cater to the needs of people who want to undertake or see projects for social entrepreneurship. We talk about the young people, and we have a social entrepreneur here, Mert Karslıoğlu, Bahçeşehir University's Computer Engineering department was his undergraduate license. He is interested in unmanned computer operated devices. Also, as part of the entrepreneurship course, he was inspired to create a company called According in 2017. And unmanned aerial vehicles and environmental issues have been gathered under this company. And he has this eco drone unmanned vehicles where he is able to actually throw balls of seed or seed balls from the sky. And when those seeds actually meet with the soil, they become all the more productive, according to Merck. They have an application called According, and they are going to implement it, I think, as of the new year. They have a branch in the Netherlands. Mert is young, but he is Fortune. He appears on the under 40 list of Fortune. Dear Mert, there is this introduction on your website. The climate uh, gives alarms. Are you aware of it? You are so much interested in climate issues. That's what I saw when I visited in according. So here you say there is this social entrepreneurship initiative for the developments around the world, and you tell the individuals and brands that you want to bring them together around a common understanding so that we can have this war or struggle against the climate change. I think everyone viewing us would appreciate this struggle. Can you kindly give us a little more information about this social entrepreneurship initiative? What kind of an initiative is it according? How does it actually send those, for example, seeds to soil? Let's listen to the specifics from you. Sure. Hi again. As you stated, well, you have actually made a good summary of our activities. I'm a computer engineer, age 27. We laid the foundation, set the foundations of According in 2017. Actually, there was this social entrepreneurship course at the university rather than entrepreneurship itself. I didn't actually have any exposure to social entrepreneurship. It wasn't known back in 2015. Indeed, I didn't have much of an idea. And together with social entrepreneurship courses, the process shaped further. And the climate change was actually more resounding and more discernible. Therefore, we asked whether we can match our activities together with our fields of spheres of interest so that we can have an initiative against the climate change. And that's how we set the foundations of According. And so far, we have been interested in creating projects that have strong influence on environmental and social aspects, social issues. And as we set out, actually, there were many documents, as our professor stated here. I remember when the time when we met with our professors, and Yusuf had many actually contents. We studied them so that we can better understand what social entrepreneurship is. And then when you look at the natural forest, you see that almost all of them are spawned by the distribution of seeds in the environment through factors like uh, animals and other carriers like winds. So we just wanted to scale that with our own initiative. I think there's no doubt about the importance of the presence of forests around the world. Therefore, we developed these unmanned drones imitating the birds so that we can take the seeds to more inaccessible areas and sort of create this forests cover. And then we added more advanced models to these prototypes so that they can carry out these operations under more challenging circumstances. Of course, seeds are impacted by different processes, including uh, their uh, growth. They may be eaten by animals or they are impacted by wind or sun. That's why we had this mixture of different materials, and they're actually the process until their germination was protected Here we ensured that disadvantaged women were involved in the production of these seeds in areas that are negatively influenced by the climate change. We employed more than 40 women for that sense. And when you look at the reports of surveillance and observation, we have partners like the General Directorate of Forestry and Artvin university units. Here, where the problem arose, uh, actually, we asked the question of who this problem belonged to. And here we needed a sustainable a financial resource as well as sustainability. Of course, creating a model and prototypes means benefit, but we wanted to have a more sustainable uh, development. Therefore, we said that any product, service, or invoice in the retail industry can be linked to these seats. So, in every sale, actually, every sale, we can have a product based eco drone activity so that these initiatives can be funded. And we place a QR code on the products, and actually, they can follow uh, the seats, uh, the travel scenarios, operation videos, also the following growth processes can be followed by people. So actually, this is an end-to-end process where the end user and the brand can touch nature from a distance. We served as an association at the beginning, but their structures are, as you know, more haphazard, and you need a speed so that you can take a decision, execute, and decide whether you need to pivot or not. They were challenging for us. Together with the business model, we had difficulty funding it. Then we became an incorporation, and we started to move more strongly. We have a team of 15, 16 people as engineers, and we have more than 60 actually brands. And our Ecotron codes or tags are applied on more than 4 million products, 4.5 million products. We cannot just resolve the climate change by forestation, as it has causes different problems in different parts of the world, and we need to come up with different solutions. But still, we had this according app, which will also be another climate change crisis solution. And we give eco-friendly tasks to people through this app, and we want them to confirm, for example, with their phones. They, for example, uh, throw a plastic bottle to a particular litter, and then they get, for example, points, or they feed a stray animal and they get another score so that they can get discounts to be used at supermarkets. And they can also donate, and they can see the impact, environmental and social impact through this model. This is for encouraging people further so that we can maximize the impact. Hopefully, we are going to do better things moving forward. That will be all in general terms. Thank you very much, Mr. Mert. I really had tears in my eyes because the social impact here is actually undertaken by you, but you also attract big brands. And in as part of the popular consumption, you say, let's turn these things into a benefit too. So every consumer contributes to this struggle against the climate change. It's wonderful. Congratulations. We wish you all the best in your continued efforts. Okay, we refer to this British Council report. The report says 55% of the social entrepreneurs are women. And here we have two social entrepreneurs. One of them is Esra Odabaşı, who is an entrepreneur, but also she is a member of Kagider, Garanti BBVA, and economist. Uh, number one, actually, the number one social entrepreneur chosen by these publications and institutions. We were thrilled to give her a round of applause when her name was announced, and now I will want to congratulate her once again. Esra worked at different private sector roles previously. She dealt with the physically challenged employer and HR uh, perspectives so that she can contribute to appropriate and active communication. She is also a physically challenged individual. Starting with her challenge, actually, she had S Career, which is a platform for choosing and recruiting, educating the disabled individuals, collaborating with over 80 companies. So, dear Estra, as a disabled individual, you established an empathy with those disabled employees and you started this journey. So, can you tell us about your target audience's participation in the business world? What kind of a benefit do you provide? What kind of a social entrepreneurship do you have there? First, I would like to thank you very much for this kind introduction about the award. That's also a great source of pride for me. I'll tell you now a little about myself as well as our social entrepreneurship activities. Let me start with the uh, S-Career Disabled Individuals Consultancy Company. As you stated, I served as an HR person for 10 years. My actually disability comes from uh, birth. When you think of disability, you think of individuals who cannot express themselves or individuals who have actually visible disabilities. I cannot use my left arm. It can be visible or invisible. It can be continuous issues like renal dysfunction, diabetes, or people who get cancer treatment and get, for example, for a report which says there is this dysfunction of 40% in the individual. Let me clarify that because we have those prejudices when we are not knowledgeable about disability aspects or disability topics. I work as a junior sales analyst in British Tobacco. Then I moved on to an HR role, and I wanted to understand what I can do for the disability for disabled people. My disability was not a barrier to taking on responsibilities or getting employed. Actually, when you do your best, you can bring about many accomplishments. When I started, for example, my first position, I didn't know that I can benefit from this disability quota. The HR came to me, for example, we have this open spaces, vacancies for the disabled individuals. I said, what is it? They said, in private sector companies, there is obligation to recruit 3% of employees as disabled or individuals with disabilities. I said, are you going to give me fewer responsibilities? Are you going to give me a different job? Uh, that's what I figured out at the beginning, that that's just a tick on the social security insurance paper. That's how I started to work as a disabled individual, and I served lastly Energisa in the strategic area. I was generally on the payment side rather than the recruitment side of HR, but I realized that there were those many disabled colleagues and people are not aware of their disabilities as they continue to work, produce, and take on responsibilities. You adapt to those employers as long as they give you the opportunities. And here I had many know-how. or much know-how or accumulation of information. I wanted to understand what the situation is like in Turkey. I work for the HR, I work for the company, but I can also work with disabled individuals, I said, because I'm one of them. That's how I uh, resigned from my job in 2016 and started as career engelli career or disabled career recruitment employment office. What do we do? Well, just like Matt, I didn't know that it was a sort of social entrepreneurship back in 2016. You don't ask the question of who am I, but you ask what I will do. And the employment of disabled individuals is an open wound in the society because of their difficulty accessing employment opportunities as well as companies. That's how I set out as a social entrepreneurship. Well, first of all, we have this job placement service. And as I stated, there is this obligation to have 3% recruitment of disabled individuals. And if they don't deliver on that criterion, the employment agency has very strict punishments. And here we see actually a 30% unemployment ratio. There are actually 10 million disabled individuals in Turkey, and 2 million of them can be employed here. Certain disabled individuals outside certain age groups and those who cannot physically be employed. There are 2 million people. But why can't we benefit from them? Because we first have prejudices. When someone wants to employ a disabled individual, unfortunately, there's this perception of they might not be good enough. And also, they have access issues. They say we cannot employ disabled individuals, but there are many solutions for that. In addition, the company's failure to reach disabled individuals is another factor. What do? We reach out to disabled individuals through career websites. They have a different category, but we see people with master's degree, undergraduate degree, or PhD degree, and we reach out to them. Our recruitment unit conducts interviews with them. We prepare their resumes later on, but it's somewhat different as a resume. In addition to their graduation and previous experience, we communicate their, for example, disability. There's this 3 centimeter shortness in one uh, foot. They can walk comfortably, but they cannot stand like up for long hours. We placed people at startup and other companies. Well, if we're talking about a barista role at startup, then we do not, for example, refer this, for example, friend to that company. He wouldn't or she wouldn't prefer it either. And then we have this actually arrangement based on their disability. That's the criterion in the headhunting side so that we can overcome the prejudices. Second, when we have these capability based interviews, we act just like any ordinary company in terms of our interviews and recruitment. In addition, we have our training services. And here we deliver these trainings related to the HR side to increase awareness about the disabilities, their groups, what accessibility is, what kind of a communication should we establish with what disability group. I mean, due to this lack of information, our HR colleagues may shy away from employing these people about like how to invite them, how to arrange meetings with them. They feel that they may offend these people. So we have this training as an essential part of awareness. And generally, we work with corporate organizations, as you stated, Amazon, Microsoft, Guarantee, BBVA, Amazon, and Unilever are our clients. And here, awareness is the most important aspect. We want to increase that. And diversity and inclusion targets scorecards of many global companies have this awareness component as an indispensable part. Also, we create a social and economic impact through disability employment of the disabled individuals, and also we ensure that people that are different from each other come together and benefit from practical procedures. Let me tell you a little about the economic uh, angle a little. We have actually ensured that 500 people are placed in business out of 5,000 people, and the contribution of their contribution to GDP is 60 million Turkish liras. So we talk about diversity, we talk about the awareness of the employment of disabled individuals, but also we should pay attention to the contribution, economic contribution. And when we look at the proportion of the proportion in the for which companies got entitlement to, we can refer to 4.5 million Turkish liras in taxes. So we are doing our best to ensure that 2 million disabled individuals can join the workforce. And here we first do that by creating awareness. We ensure their employment, and then we carry on activities to ensure that it's sustainable. We work hand in hand with our disabled friends as well as the colleagues from the HR with our best to keep track of these developments. Thank you very much. We listened to this story with great excitement. I didn't want to interrupt at all. Dear Esra, when did you become a social entrepreneur contestant in the competition 2019? Now, in 2021, actually, she ranked first in Kagidar, Garanti BBVA, and other contests. There's another entrepreneur who is Sadriye Görece, and she is a visually challenged individual who studied in her high school at America through a KLYS scholarship, and then she came back to Turkey so that she can ensure the access of physically challenged individuals to business life. She turned tandem bicycles to an educational tool for the visually challenged individuals. And then her route intersected with Jihad Ersin, with whom in 2019 they established Blind Look in 2019. Blind Look is about Sadriye's passion for entrepreneurship. Now, dear Sadriye, she is not with us physically, but she will join us remotely due to her discomfort. So, dear Sadria, 285 million visually challenged individuals live in the world. You and your partner, Cihat Ersin, try to ensure that these visually challenged individuals become much free in the digital and business world. That's why you develop freedom technologies for the physically challenged individuals so that you can ensure a barrier-free world for them. You have an application called Blind Look, which enables people to hear the brands and products by companies audible. Well, how did you think of such a social initiative? How did you create this success story? We are curious about that. What's your take on it? Thank you.
First of all, hello everyone. I would like to be physically with you. But I woke up with a serious stomach ache, and let that be my unfortunate situation. So I wish you a beautiful energy, and I'm gonna be I'm gonna try and be positive as much as you are. When I was elected to that position in 2021, there's been a funny situation. I went to a branch office of Garanti Bank, and people were treating me in an interesting way. I was receiving a lot of interest, and they started telling me, "Hello, I know you." And I thought, as a woman, social entrepreneur, how could my fame made all the way here? On the screen, actually, my pictures were there, and people would just look at the screen and look at me. But as I didn't see the screen, I thought I had a special place in their memory. I was so special, I thought. And I got rid of my ego when they shared that information with me. Our journey started in 2019. A lot of institutions like COSEF, they had established social enterprise as a concept. And when we hit the road, we didn't say that we were being born as a social enterprise, but after we hit the road, we said we are a social enterprise. And in 2016 and 17, we realized that we had made some distance, and this is a great development. And our story of hitting the road took place as such. I wanted to do something about the accessibility, and I wanted to make a difference in the world of visually impaired. And one of the first things that pop up on our minds is that maybe I would open a YouTube channel and tell people that the life of visually impaired is not really as difficult as they thought. So that was my understanding. My partner, Jihad, I asked him to support me, and he reacted that, of course, we can do that, but what's going to change? Okay, we're going to raise awareness, but the life of the visually impaired is going to remain unchanged. Can we not make a change? He kind of challenged me, and I was trying to convince him on my idea of YouTube. And we had a menu in the cafe, and he said, "What would you like to eat?" And I said, "Well, you have a menu in front of your hand, in front of your eyes. I can't see it, but you can." And that at that moment, the entrepreneurial spirit came into play, and he said, "Can we not solve this? Can we not provide access for visually impaired?" And the first step was getting the domain of blindlook.com in February 2019. And then with our audio digital menu solution in almost every province, every city of Turkey, more than 1,000 locations, we made the menus into something audible. And during pandemic, we wanted to communicate with visually impaired during the pandemic, and the problem actually was far greater than we thought. In the world, there were 285 million, and in Turkey, 1 million visually impaired people were living, and 39 million of the world population is totally impaired. So the visually impaired, regardless of the location, they were going through the same problem. So they're not going to be able to use the product in a free manner. So the visually impaired is a consumer, and we spend as much as other people. And in return for the money that we spend, we want to get the quality results, just like the other people. And we don't leave the brands that care about us as the visually impaired people. 85% of the visually impaired remain loyal to the brand when they are careful. And like 78% of us recommend the brand to other people. So the recommendation rates are far above the usual numbers. And these figures belong to Nelson Company, by the way. And as Blind Look, we say, in a world where the communication is 80% visual, we are trying to create a 100% audio world. With the audio simulation method, we provide products and services. So we create a map, an audio map of the products. The usage is being made into audio, and this is how a visually impaired would use a brand without needing anyone's help. And from that to getting actively involved in the sports, we get involved in every venue of life in a free manner. And they basically use the product in a very accessible manner. And with the technology of audio simulation, we call these brands as I brand. Eye, by the way, is the eye with the organ with which we see. And until now, we have about 20 eye brands. So the products of more than 20 brands are being used without any boundaries by the visually impaired. Among our partners, we have Google, Amazon, Ishbank, Toyota. We have a lot of international companies. It is important that we convince global brands like Google and Amazon because these brands have accessibility and they have units with whom they create their own customers. So as we are at an innovative position, we can partner up with them and work together. And we have response from other countries as well. I mean, outside Turkey. Since 2019, we have been involved in Fortune 46, and we won 9 different awards. We won Women Entrepreneurship Award of Garanti BBVA. The journey is quite enjoyable. We started the journey in Turkey, and we're going to go to United States and UK, and we are targeting to be an accessible company for everyone. Until now, on the issues where the stands and technology get together, we have been following, and our attitude is, why not being a company of that creates the solution. The brand, the mass, the audience is ready to adopt the product that we introduce, and we want them to reach the freedom world of Blind Book. This is how I can summarize that. I'd like to be with you physically, and maybe one day I will. And thank you very much for the energy and the beautiful storytelling that you have. From what you say, I understand that a unicorn is coming out from Turkey called Blind Look. And in many countries of the world, I hope you're going to bring Blind Look together with the visually impaired. I'd like to address a question to Mr. Mert at this moment. You said when I was at the university, I already knew what the social enterprise was. And I established this company as a company of social enterprise. So speaking of social enterprise, did you receive any support from public authorities? Is there any such mechanism? I am an entrepreneur. I established my company. I commercialized it. I pay my taxes, for example. So what is the difference between any enterprise and yours? Actually, on that side, when we look into the things that we have been doing,
çevreyle alakalı bir şey yapıyoruz.
We have been doing something about the environment. Should we do that as an NGO? Or should we move forward as a company? We didn't make our mind on that yet. And about that issue, we received different mentorships, and they guided us in different ways. So when we started the process, we started as an association, and then we realized there's no clear definition of social enterprise. There was no clarification on the public side, and that was a vague definition for an enterprise to survive. There are certain criteria. One of them is scalability. Depending on the content, they can use different technologies, but when we evaluate, we realized that we could get the incentives of any SMEs or artisans, and if we are using the technology, we could have applied the funds of TÜBİTAK, or there were different funds that supported NGOs. Of course, these all had advantages and disadvantages. In the first initial period, while we were establishing it, we did not really utilize them. But as the social enterprise ecosystem broadened, we got together, we met people working in this area, and then we got involved in the programs that would empower us on social enterprise and enterprise. And it enabled us get financial and mentoring support. And then, well, I'm not the person to evaluate whether that is enough or not, because in the world there would be different alternatives, but I am a person that considers that it could be evaluated in a different world, in a different way. Social enterprises do aim for a profit. In some scenarios, this is a bit of a shame, but that profit would be used for social and environmental good. So the more they work, the better we remove these issues, the problems. And I hope this is going to be empowered as the time goes by. Esra, I have a question for you. Mert underlined that as well. Social entrepreneur, any entrepreneur makes profit and uses it in her resources. So social entrepreneur does she have to spend a certain percentage of the profit in social utility, in social good? There's no public support to social enterprises, right? So does the state have a rule that a certain percentage of the profit has to go to social goods? Well, in the eyes of the state, we are entrepreneurs. We're not any different from any enterprise that does import, export, or other things. So when you did ask, I thought about that. We did not receive any investment. So our strategy was towards being empowered in Turkey. There's only one support that I received. I always say that I didn't receive any investment, but when I was working at Energisa, COSGAB had a training course for entrepreneurship, and I used to attend that course. And I didn't have any idea of becoming an entrepreneur back in the time. Um, when I was about to establish a company, I started thinking about that. A friend of mine reminded that to me actually. You attended a course of entrepreneurship and you could use some um, utilities that the states provide. So unfortunately, even if you create a social benefit, there is no differentiated taxation system funding. So we are of the same status. We are regulated by the same laws with any profit-oriented company. So from that point, let's have a declaration that social enterprises are creating utility, so their support mechanisms should be evaluated or revised on the public side. Ms. Gonja, let me ask the last question to you. Let's say somebody saying that they are social entrepreneurs and they're providing social benefits. Is there any measurement on that? Thank you. You know, at the end of the day, we can call it the investment of social impact or anything else, but uh, the question boils down to why social enterprise. So the key question here is the social impact side of the enterprise. If we cannot really measure, we cannot manage, and we cannot improve the impact. So, of course, measurements are being done, but it should not be exaggerated. My friends spoke their minds here. They talked about different impacts. They provided different figures. They talked about the transformation that the society and different groups should go through. But at the end of the day, when we say social impact, with the activities and business models that we have, we want them to have a change. This change could be positive and negative. The effect could be long term or short term. It could come out of unplanned endeavors, or it could be the result of something planned. We have a lot of resources for the social enterprises that they could measure their impact. We have certain criteria, whichever method they use. As far as they follow the criteria of social benefit, they can measure, minimize the negative effects and improve the positive effects. So my recommendation is the home guide of social entrepreneurship, home guide of social enterprise. If we have time, I can add something. I can add something on the finance dimension of the issue. Well, both in Turkey and in other countries, an important issue of social enterprise is access to finance. So they need different mechanisms than a traditional startup. Public resources have difficulty of access sometimes. The social enterprise does not have a single interlocutor at the public offices, unfortunately, and from that we can say to finance sector, we can say there could be a more patient capital, more creative models could, creative financing models could be created. And until now, finance sector has a developed sector, and until now, why and how it remained an undeveloped field, it's a huge question mark for me. I hope it's going to develop soon. Whoever I ask, about 70% of the people, they say that they have issues with access to finance. It's not just about the social enterprises. It's the case for all the enterprises. Today, COSCAB chairperson visited Kagidar today, and we demanded similar things. We asked for affirmative action for women entrepreneurs, and we have very little time left. Sadri, just one question. You like dreaming. You actualized a dream with this blind look. So, can you please dream that in Turkey, what could be better for social enterprise? You know, uh, what would make a lot of people social entrepreneurs? So you talked about research and you talked about the space. So let's talk about the space of the social enterprise. I believe the biggest dream of all the social entrepreneurs is the world that would not need us. Things should be things should be as they should be, so that the society would not need our efforts. That's my biggest dream. But based on the experience of Miss Esra, the situation of turning a disadvantage into an advantage. So it's the same in my journey as well. There are many cases in the world that we see as disadvantage. And there are many excuses to give up. So we're going to either give up based on these excuses or keep moving forward. I always tell my teammates, what if it doesn't work? They say, don't say. What if it works? Say. And do not delay your dreams, right? Maybe that would be one last addition. So do not delay your dreams. Enterprise is such a journey. Entrepreneurship is such a journey. You're not going to delay your dreams. When you see the conditions are ripe, you're going to take risk. Of course, access to finance is difficult, but there are some sources that entrepreneurs could use, and public incentives could be utilized for the entrepreneurs as well. We had a beautiful 1 hour together, and to dear Miss Gonja, Mert, Esra, and Sadriye, I'd like to thank them for their perfect entrepreneurship experiences. And I say Godspeed, both in Turkey and around the world.